Take your event to the next level with Crossroads TV. Professional audio and video production, multi-camera live streaming, audio system for your panels and entertainment, plus stunning video screen production on LED walls. High quality, seamless production, tailored to your needs. Let us bring your vision to life. Contact us today.
Monday, March 10th, 2025, Town Council meeting. First, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Audra.
Mike Joseph?
Here.
Dale Macklin?
Here.
Fran Hudson?
Here.
Doris LeBranch?
Here.
Adam Lint?
Here.
Lee Trahan?
Here.
And Jeff West?
Here.
Do we have any disclosure of conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes of previous meetings. Could I have a motion to approve all minutes as listed?
So moved.
I second it.
Second.
Discussion? And a vote.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Mike Joseph?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Fran Hudson?
Yes.
Doris LeBranch?
Yes.
And Adam Lint?
Yes.
Motion to combine all minutes to one vote passes 7-0.
Next up is communications, and we have FY24 presentation by our auditor.
Do you need to take a second vote?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we've combined, the motion was to combine all
Oh, I'm
the-
sorry. Yep. So can we now have a motion to actually vote on combining them all?
So moved.
Second it.
That was the first motion, wasn't it? Second motion would be to approve them all.
That's
Oh, yeah.
what I thought I just.
Correct.
That's
No,
what I. Okay, yep, that's exactly what I meant.
What Dale said.
Yeah.
A motion
move
to
to
approve
approve
all
all-
minutes as
all.
presented.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff West?
Yes.
Mike Joseph?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Fran Hudson?
Yes.
Doris LeBranch?
Yes.
Adam Lint?
Yes.
And Lee Trahan?
Yes.
The motion to approve all minutes as presented passes 7-0.
Again, communications. We have a FY24 presentation by our town auditor. Here. Oh, he's online. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Good to see everybody tonight. My name is Eric Netto. I'm a partner with Nicholson Michaud Netto, and we're the auditors for the town of Winslow. I'm here tonight to provide a short presentation, do a general overview of the audit, and review some key trend information for the town. Audra, could you allow me to share my screen?
Can I do that from here or? Hold on just a second.
Just find it.
No.
Are these microphones kind of loud?
I like it back there. Too loud? Too loud or? Turn it down a little bit.
So do you get for sitting in back of the church?
Should be set now.
everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so just as a reminder regarding the audited financial statements. So the financial statements are the responsibility of town management, and our responsibility as the town auditors to express an opinion on the financial statements based on our audit. We conduct our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States, and those standards provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. And we are issuing an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the fiscal year 24 financial statements. Municipal governments, when they issue financial statements, they're really two sets of financial statements. Okay, we issue what's called government-wide financial statements. Those are very consistent with full accrual financial statements. So your government-wide financials will include capital assets, long-term debt, and other accruals and receivables. Okay. Your fund financial statements are what we call modified basis financial statements, more of a short-run perspective. Your fund financial statements are going to be general fund, special revenue, capital projects, and fund financial statements are more consistent with what governments will review and monitor on a monthly and annual basis, because it's more consistent with your budget. For example, in your fund financial statements, payments made on long-term debt would be considered an expenditure, but on your government-wide financial statements, because we're reporting long-term debt within that set of financials, payments on long-term debt are going to be a reduction of your balance sheet. So with fund financial statements, government-wide, those are two separate sets of financials we're issuing. And then we provide a reconciliation within those financial statements to reconcile the change in net position and your change in fund balance. So it's just a quick highlight that I like to make at the beginning of the presentation. The next few slides are going to get into some trend information for the town. All right, this first slide represents the last 5 years of taxes receivable within the general fund. Your total taxes receivable and liens at the end of fiscal year 24 was about $950,000. That represented about a $38,000 increase over fiscal year 23. You can see that from 22 to 24, your overall tax receivable balance has been fairly consistent. As a percentage of property tax revenue, your fiscal year 24 tax receivable is approximately 6%, which is consistent with your overall 5-year average. This next slide shows your property tax collection rate. Fairly steady increase since fiscal year 22. You're right at about 95% in fiscal year 24. And this represents the portion of your tax levy that has been collected in the current fiscal year. Next slide shows your property tax rates over the past 5 years. We're auditing the fiscal year 24 period, and the budget adopted by the council for that period resulted in a mill rate of 15, which is a decrease of from 2120 in fiscal year 23. That decrease was a result of the revaluation that was performed, which that revaluation resulted in a net increase in your tax commitment of about 1.6 million or 12%. The 24-25 budget, which is not presented here, that resulted in no change in your mill rate, so it stayed at 15. And your fiscal year 25 approved budget included the budgeted use of fund balance of about $950,000 for the town and $350,000 for the school. We'll talk a little bit more about fund balance designation on a few later slides. This slide shows your long-term debt levels over the last 5 years. Total debt in fiscal year 24 decreased about 1.46 million or 12% based on regularly scheduled debt payments. There is some outstanding debt or unissued bonds at this point related to the Chafee Brook Pump Station. So that long-term debt is really, it's sitting in at the end of fiscal year 24, you drew down about 1.1 million on a bond anticipation note. That amount is not included in your long-term debt figure on your financial statements. It's being carried as a separate line item. When that converts into long-term debt, it will become part of your long-term debt balance. The town's debt limits are well within the statutory limits for municipalities. That limit is 15% of the average full valuation of taxable property within your jurisdiction. And that current debt limitation is about 145 million. So obviously we're well within that range. These next few slides are going to talk about fund balance, which I know is an important metric for the town, particularly as you're on an annual basis looking at budgets. It's become more of an important issue. The general fund balance for the town at the end of fiscal year 24 was about 6.1 million. That was an increase from fiscal year 23 of almost 700,000. One of the things that a lot of towns will do when they're evaluating their general fund balance is they will look at what portion of their fund balance is unassigned. And that unassigned fund balance at the end of fiscal year 24 for the town is about 4.7 million. And then once you determine your unassigned fund balance, another metric that towns will utilize is dividing that unassigned fund balance by your general fund expenditures and coming up with a ratio. So that ratio at the end of 24 was about 22%. And sometimes you'll hear towns refer to a fund balance policy, and they'll establish a minimum that they require to maintain in an unassigned fund balance. The town does not have an approved unassigned fund balance policy, but it is something that you will see other towns establishing. And it can vary. It really depends on a number of factors. You might see a unassigned fund balance policy of 10%. You might see it 15 or 20%. It really depends on, again, a lot of factors that are going on within the town. But the percentage that the town of Winslow is carrying at the end of fiscal year 24 is 22%. Fund balance for your school department. At the school department, fund balance at the end of fiscal year 24 was a little over $1 million. That was an increase of 116,000 over the prior year. And we do report the school department as a separate fund within your financial statements. And as I'll mention later, we do also perform a separate audit engagement for Winslow Public Schools, and we issue a separate report in accordance with that audit as well. This slide shows general fund balance liquidity, and it kind of illustrates what I was talking about earlier, where we take the unassigned fund balance as a percentage of your general fund expenses and transfers. So you can see we're at around 22% at the end of fiscal year 24. That was a decrease from fiscal year 23. The reason for that decrease is, as I mentioned earlier, we were discussing the fiscal year 25 budget. The town did assign $950,000 towards use in their fiscal year 25 budget period. So that 950 would have been in unassigned 23. Now that's come out of that. Right, so even after utilizing $950,000 in your fiscal year 25 budget, you are still carrying, a very positive unassigned fund balance percentage at the end of fiscal year 24. This next slide, I think is an important slide to review as well. What this represents is fund balance utilization. So when you see a red column here, that means in that particular year, the town actually did utilize some of the budgeted fund balance that they were expecting in that year. The only year out of the last 5 where that occurred was fiscal year 22. In fiscal year 22, you budgeted to use fund balance of about $280,000. You ended up using about $195,000. In fiscal year 20, 21, 23, and 24, you did not utilize any budgeted fund balance. In those years, you had favorable budget results, which resulted in you were actually adding to your fund balance rather than utilizing some of your projected fund balance for that budget period. That's a good ratio, obviously. So you might have a year, fiscal year 25, again, you're budgeting to use $950. We haven't audited fiscal year 25 yet, so we'll see kind of where that shakes out. But 4 to the last 5 years where you were budgeting to use fund balance, you didn't need to do that. So that's again, I mentioned it's a positive ratio because in that particular year, instead of utilizing fund balance, you're adding to it, which provides you with that resource to use in a subsequent budget period. All right, last slide here, just a few other matters that I'd like to communicate to the council. As far as the audit, there were no difficulties in dealing with town or school management and performing and completing the audit. There were no disagreements between the auditors and management about any financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matters. I do want to mention that the town does outsource. They've hired a consultant that they've used for a few years, Hank Farah. He assists with year-end, closing the year and preparing for audit. Hank does a great job, and he's a good resource for the town. Management staff of town and school did a good job during the audit as far as responding to our requests, providing information in a timely manner. And again, I want to reference Hank doing a great job as well. I did mention that we do a separate audit for the Winslow Public School, and we do issue a separate report. We did issue a clean opinion on that audit as well. We're in the process of wrapping up what we call a single audit. That's an audit of your federal expenditures. We're looking at 2 programs this year, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and state and local fiscal recovery funds passed through to you from the Maine Department of Transportation. Paul and I are working on a few things there. We expect to wrap that up within the next week or so. And we do issue a separate letter as far as some recommendations to help improve efficiency and operating effectiveness of internal controls. We did not identify any significant deficiencies and material weaknesses in internal control. The recommendations we make are more, as I said, kind of opportunities to improve internal control structure and operating effectiveness. As far as timing of the audit, we are very close to being ready to issue the financials. I expect to be able to do that within the next couple of weeks. And there has been some articles in the newspaper recently regarding municipal audits and timing, and I wanted to speak to that for a few minutes. We, just like a lot of firms that are auditing in this arena, we're facing some struggles with staffing and timing and things that we're hoping to improve. And as I mentioned to Paul, we're 100% committed to working through that process with the town and developing a strategy in fiscal year 25 to improve the timing and putting some incentives in place to kind of keep everybody on task. So it is an industry-wide issue. There are a lot of firms that are getting out of the industry, but there are a lot of firms that are continuing to audit in this industry. So we want to be part of the solution in that arena. And we're going to work hard to make sure that we get this back on a normal timing schedule for the town. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Everybody good?
Through the chair, just one quick question, Eric. In reviewing all of this stuff and whatever, is it your opinion that the town of Winslow is sitting pretty good financially right now?
Yeah, from an audit perspective, from a financial position perspective, from an unassigned fund balance perspective, yes, I think the town is, compared to other municipalities within Maine, I think you guys are in good shape. Your debt levels are good. And then, I think any year where you assign close to $1 million of fund balance to use in your budgeting process, I think that brings with it some concern for council, which it should. But I think, a lot of towns deal with that now. The budgeting process is very difficult. But as we saw in that slide that showed the last 5 years, you've had a couple of years where you've utilized or budgeted to utilize a significant amount of fund balance, and you've been able to end a year in a positive position. So I think that speaks to, department heads and monitoring budgets and controlling costs the best that they can.
Through the chair, I have a question. Is when you're saying that we're looking pretty good as far as the budget, are you also combining that with the school budget as well?
Yeah, I think.
Or it's not completed?
No, the school audit's completed. And when we talk about, when we're looking at unassigned fund balance, the amount that I was giving you, the 4.7, that was just town. Okay, so let me. Just looking at the school's portion of the financial statements. So the school, the way we present the school within the town's financial statements, we do separate and show it as a separate department. And the fund balance amount that we're reporting on is we show it as restricted. And we showed it, so it's a little different from general fund reporting where we have an unassigned line within your fund balance categories. So if you were to look at your financial statements for the general fund, you would see 4.7 as unassigned. For the school, the restricted balance at the end of fiscal year 24 is $823,000. Okay, 350 of that was assigned to the fiscal year 25 budget. So if you think about unassigned fund balance, the school's unassigned fund balances would be the 823 less the 350 that was assigned. Okay, but we're showing it as restricted because that entire fund balance is restricted for the school. So it's a little bit different terminology, but the 4.7 that we were discussing is just the town's general fund.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is a communications from First Park presentation from one of our old friends.
Yeah, we got some handouts, so Mike, you want to introduce yourself, or I'll go hand them out?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Mike Roy. I'm the president of First Park. I was around when the park was created 26 years ago. At that time, I was the town manager in Oakland. The park is located in Oakland, but it's right on the border between Oakland and Waterville.
All right.
Ray is on our executive board, and our executive board is a group of 11, well, 12, when we're full, of volunteers. And we've been a volunteer organization since the park was created in the year 2000. We have a paid executive director and a part-time staff person who happens to live in Winslow. And we've seen more activity in the park, in First Park, than we've seen in the last 15 years. And it's very encouraging because for those of us that have been involved with the park for all that time, that long dry spell was difficult not to lose our focus and our faith in what the park was established for. So essentially the park was established for one very clear, important purpose: create jobs. Create jobs, create jobs. And secondly, to return to the towns the money that was invested to build the park out 25 years ago, 26 years ago. So I think we finally turned the corner on returning money back to the towns. We're, as Ray will tell you, we're in a situation now where you're getting back from First Park more than you are putting in annually. Now, we got a ways to go before we catch up on all that you've put in the past 25 years, but the revenue sharing agreements that created First Park are, believe it or not, 99-year agreements. So Winslow still has 75 years left of revenue sharing, believe it or not. Now, I don't think Ray and I will be around at that time, but we have finally gotten to the point where you're getting back more than you're paying yet. And we hope to increase that. But number one is jobs.
How many jobs are we talking about? 800, right, in the total in the park?
Well, the park was lucky at the beginning because we kind of hit a home run when T-Mobile decided to locate in First Park in 2005. Here is the most important thing that I want to say tonight. At T-Mobile, there are approximately 900 employees. There's no development in Kennebec or Somerset counties that comes anywhere near close to 900 employees. When Sappi did their expansion a few months ago, I remember reading in the Sentinel that their employment was 473. 900 in First Park. And the reason that's important, because if you take an average annual salary of 45,000 times 900, you get $40 million payroll a year coming into Central Maine. Comes from out of state. These are not jobs that have been taken from one part of Central Maine and moved into First Park. These are jobs that were created new, and the money to fund those comes from out of state. We had 24 lots to sell. We've sold 11. No, we have 11 left. We've sold 13. So we're halfway there on the lot sales. People, I think, think, well, you guys haven't done that well. You had 24 to start with, you've had 25 years. How come you have still 11 to sell? The Great Recession didn't help. And actually, 9/11 really, really affected the park, because the park opened 1 month after 9/11. And we went a few years, T-Mobile located. 2008 comes the Great Recession. Now, in the last couple of years, as Ray can testify to, we've had more activity in the park in terms of businesses that want to come in. And again, the key thing is create jobs. So I don't want to go on too long. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I know Ray.
I guess we were just lucky to be able to hit the audit at the same time that our presentation here. Yeah, I had flashbacks from all 15 audits before, but that's okay. Like Mike said, it's about a year ago you guys approved me to go on the First Park board, and I really didn't know what it pertained, but it's been a privilege to serve with Mike. Jim Dinkle is the executive CEO right now. He's done a great job for us as far as going to job fairs and companies that are interested in coming to First Park. So I would say at least once, twice, 3 times a month we have been meeting lately, because the activity has been great. And the executive board, by the nature of executives, there's not a lot of things we can put out there that when you're negotiating with companies and stuff. But it's been a privilege to be on, and if you guys want me to continue to serve, I would be more than happy to continue to serve on the board. Your payments right now for the town of Winslow is approximately $37,000 a year. So that's what you guys pay into First Park to make sure that we guarantee the budget that we have, which is about $400,000 at the present time. So that's the Winslow's portion of that budget. The return last year, the return was $39,000. So we returned to the town of Winslow $39,000, so a net of $2,000. And the way First Park works is that obviously the taxes from First Park are gathered and paid to the town of Oakland. Town of Oakland then distributes the taxes to the organizations like the town of Winslow, and that's how we get reimbursed through an agreement with the town of Oakland, that they reimburse the taxes that First Park pays to the town of Oakland. So it's, like I said, it's been a privilege to serve. I'd be glad to serve. There's a lot of activities. We have another executive meeting on Thursday with some prospective individuals that are looking for, a space in the First Park. It's a balancing act. At least it has been the year for the way I feel is that you want to keep the integrity of the park, but you also want to fill it up so you guarantee the return of investment that the town of Winslow has had over since 2001, I think, when First Park. So we've paid in over the last 3 years. We got money back, so we're in a better position. But in order to get more money back and to keep return on investment, the need is to keep advancing and keep filling that park just as much as we can. So again, we will do that, and we will work hard to make sure that Winslow's investment is hopefully worth the while over the years, and that will continue to hopefully increase the returns to the town of Winslow in a very positive way.
Thank you.
Is there any, last thing, is there any Celtics fans in the audience or anything? We have this book, the yearly book. There was one ad in First Park in the Celtics book, but if there's any Celtics fans, want this yearbook? Oh.
One I don't have, right?
It's nice. It's a good one, actually. It's excellent.
Could you have a save a set for Lee?
Oh, yes. I
For
will.
Lee,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
will. Yeah, yeah.
There are 24 towns in the park that are members of supporting the park. Waterville's the largest, Winslow's second place, then Oakland, Fairfield's right in there too. So fortunately, it's the 4 sister communities that are the bulk of supporting the park.
Through the chair, do we have any new clients that you're looking at right now to come into the park, or have you got any new ones just recently?
Well, we sold a lot 2 weeks ago. We had 2 other prospective buyers. Unfortunately, both of those, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we sold one. The other 2, I don't think are going to happen, but I'm confident there'll be others.
Okay, thank you.
This week, I think, when I talked to Jim early in the week, Jim has actually two meetings with potential clients coming in from out of state to look at the potential lots and to get a survey of the park. So there's always a lot of activity. It seems like in the last year, so we're very hopeful that, one of the things, if you look at this particular sheet here, if you notice in the northern division, there's a solar farm. 4 lots were sold as solar. So when I talked to Jim today, hopefully, there's no infrastructure on those 4 lots now, but hopefully sometime this year, that the solar company in 2025 will start building. Once they build, then infrastructure gets taxed. So that's what so there's, 2025 looks potentially like there is, but one thing I've learned in this thing is you're optimistic when they come in and they're gung-ho and we're gonna break ground next week, and then snags happen and things, so we're optimistic but yet still realistic that some things happen and some things don't. It's a slow process, but we keep working at it.
Through the chair, how big are the lots there, average?
Oh, boy. They really vary. I would say 4 to 5 acres, the average lot size, but then you can get some that are 2-3 times that amount.
Okay.
Yeah, and most of that's governed by wetlands and usable space on the lot itself. Because a lot of it, when it was developed, because of the DEP, EPA and all that, has wetlands and drainage requirements. And so some of the lots are bigger than some of the small lots that are more usable acreage.
Thank you.
If you look at the map, you'll see lots 2 and 3.
Yep.
They've been sold. That hopefully will be the site of a machining operation, precision machining operation that has been trying to gear up to locate in the park, and I believe it's going to happen in 25, 26. That'll be a big development when that happens. Lots 2 and 3 were originally owned by LL Bean. They wanted to build a call center, but when T-Mobile came in with a call center, LL Bean found that they wouldn't have enough manpower to staff their call center. So they've been sitting on those lots for a long time, 15 years or more. But now someone has bought them. So that's another good piece of news that happened a year or so ago. Were you on the board when they?
I don't think so.
Just before you came in. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for coming.
Oh, thank you.
This is for
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Next up, we have reports of committees and commissions, the town manager's report.
Thank you, council members. I'll go through it quickly. I had a pretty long report this month, so quick highlights. As most of you are aware that we lost our finance director in February. Caitlin Philbrick got done. So we've kind of reapportioned her duties between active members. I had Sherry Carver, which is my public works and fire administrative assistant. She's going to do all the budget stuff. And Tanya, that's here, took over the accounts payable, which she used to do before. So I think for now we're in good shape until a new manager comes in, excuse me, and decides what they want to do. Early in February, I attended the meeting. CMP had a public hearing for the residents of the Smiley Avenue area, highlighting the power line project that they're doing, the upgrades. And it was very well received, very well attended by the public. I think CMP was very open as far as giving answers to the people. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise because they weren't supposed to be starting in Winslow this early. They were supposed to start in Augusta and work north. And something happened that they had to change their schedule, so they started in Winslow heading south. So they came here probably a year and a half before we were expecting them, but it's working. So right now they're just cutting, the right-of-ways, the trees, the brush, making access roads. And they're slowly going to be starting to put up new poles. These are all going to be steel poles, a lot taller than what's there, a lot more compact. The wires are going to be more resistant to power outages. They're going to be coated so the tree branches don't short them out. So a big improvement to the system, but it just takes time. So Chaffee Brook, we just signed contract for phase 2 with T-Buck, which has taken almost a year to get there because the first time we went out to bids, nobody bid on it because of the complexity of the design. So we had to redesign and regroup. So we got some fairly decent bids. They probably won't be on site till end of '25 because of the problems in procuring, the equipment like pumps and generators and controls. And basically, this is one of those projects when they hit the ground, they need to be able to get everything done because they're going to be bypass pumping, which is a big expense and a complex operation. So they need to be able to get in and get out. So, but it's moving forward. The costs have stopped going up once we sign the contract. At least we know that that's not going to change. So, our contractor right now is doing the asbestos at the junior high. He's probably pretty well done on what they call the non-friable stuff, the floor tiles and mastics and stuff like that. So I think he was waiting for warm weather to do the friable stuff because they need to be able to put up showers for the guys and decontamination, and it's kind of a little cold right now since there's no power in there, no heat. So but it's moving forward, and he had a dumpster in there last week, I think, to pick up most of the stuff. So it's moving forward.
Did they find asbestos on the roof also?
There is some on the roof, and that has been put on hold basically till we tear the building down. We'll bring the roof to the contractor instead of bringing the contractor up on the roof.
Okay.
It's a little easier to do it that way. But his price includes the roofing asbestos.
Okay, good.
That was bid, but right now, we're not gonna expect him to do that till we're ready for demolition. On the agenda tonight, obviously, there's the grant for the roof project at the old 1804 schoolhouse up on the Cushman Road. That's a $25,000 grant that we got through the State Historical Preservation. And we're gonna ask you guys permission tonight to accept that grant, and then we're gonna go forward and put it out to bid and get that done here this summer. So that's pretty much what I had in my monthly report.
Any other department reports? Financial committee reports? Financial reports? We have none. We're going to move. I see no tabled business.
You gotta accept the reports.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Motion to accept all reports.
Second. Any discussion? And can we have a vote?
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LeBranch,
Yes.
Adam Lind,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, no tabled business. Under old business, I think before we do that, seeing as it's a public hearing, I'll just read the decorum rules first, in case anybody wants to stand up to speak. We ask that any person wishing to address the council, please stand, state your name and your address. All remarks are to be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member of this council. No person other than the council and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion either directly or through a councilor without the permission of the council chair. No question shall be asked to a councilor except through the council chair. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall immediately be barred from further audience before the council by the council chair unless permission to continue is granted by a majority vote of the council. We also ask that you all respect the allotted time given. And as we're going on to a public, I also wanted to remind people, because I don't think we've been saying it, any person wishing to address the council in writing or on any matter before it may do so by providing the town clerk with the writing or other document prior to the meeting The clerk will read, then make copies for all counselors and will provide a copy to any member of the public requesting one. If the submission is lengthy, a reasonable copying fee may be applied. And of course, anybody writing in should keep in mind the decorum rules apply to that as well. Excuse me. So going on to the ordinance for a public hearing, just to remind anyone who wishes to speak, it is a 5 minutes on public hearing and not the 3-minute rule. And the first one up is ordinance number 2025. The Town of Winslow Fire Department will provide ambulance service for all calls arising within the Town of Winslow and request for mutual aid.
So moved.
Second it.
Do we allow anybody, would anybody from the public like to speak on this? If not, then we will, is there anybody who'd like a discussion?
Just that this is just to make things right from how it was done earlier.
That's right. It was originally placed in as an order, and all this is doing is placing it as it should have been, an ordinance. So we're not voting on whether or not to have an ambulance service. We've already done that. It's now just to change it from an order to an ordinance. Any other discussion? Could we have a vote?
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Doris LeBranch.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
And Mike Joseph.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next ordinance number 032025. This is also a second reading. At the Town of Winslow's Fire Department's discretion, the fire department will provide interfacility transfers within the state of Maine. Would anybody, I'm sorry, second. Any discussion? And could we have a vote?
Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Doris LeBranch.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
No.
Mike Joseph.
Yes.
And Dale Macklin.
No.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay, new business. Motion to rescind the vote from February 20th.
No. Skip to
Two more orders.
Order number 01.
C and D.
Order number 01-2025, the town manager is authorized to pay statewide asbestos removal, a total of $102,964 from the fund balance account.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we have a vote?
Doris LeBranch.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Mike Joseph.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
And Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Order number 052025, authorization for the interim town manager to sign a water line easement agreement with Kennebec Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Through the chair.
I'm sorry, go
Was
ahead.
that Mike that did a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you say through the chair?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Paul, could you just explain that, please?
Basically,
that may not.
that's to provide water service to irrigate the football field on Benton Avenue. Right now, the water comes through the old junior high, which has been shut off and will no longer be available. So they're going to come off of Hollingsworth, but there's a section of Hollingsworth apparently when the school was built, when about Noah's time, I guess, I don't know, that part of the street was abandoned, but there was no easement granted to the water district for the water line that's there, so they would not hook on to it unless there was an easement granted to them to be able to access it and maintain it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Any further discussion? Could we have a vote?
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
and Doris LaBranch.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Under new business, motion to rescind the vote from February 20th, 2025 regarding the bidding process for the sale of 10 Lithgow Street. This is being done because we did it incorrectly on a vote that was not on the agenda, so we're going to, in a sense, erase that vote and do it again.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? So this vote will be on to rescind the vote. Could we have a roll call?
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LaBranch,
Yes.
and Adam Lind.
Yes.
Motion to rescind the vote passes 7-0.
Resolution number 082025, the interim town manager is hereby authorized to initiate a bidding process for the sale of the property located at 10 Lithgow Street, which is designated as the Lithgow Library. The town reserves the right to accept or reject any and all submitted bids.
So moved.
A second?
Discussion?
Yes, through the chair. How many days are we putting this on for? the
I was
bid?
gonna put it on for a month,
A month?
30 days.
30 days? Because I thought we were talking about possibly 45 days by the time we get it on the paper.
Whatever you guys
Does that
want.
make any difference to you guys?
I'd rather see 10 days, but 30 works for me.
Okay.
Sometimes people hesitate to do it when it's this time of year, so you can get a better look at what you're selling or bidding on. So it's up to what we all think, I guess.
It might
30
be-
good?
I think 30 days is plenty.
Okay.
It might be 10 days before I get it out there on the street too, so I'm gonna do my best to get it out as quickly as possible, but kind of busy times here.
So 30 days from the time you have it out there, Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? And can we have a roll call?
Jeff West,
No.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LaBranch,
Yes.
Adam Lind,
Yes.
and Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Resolution number 092025, authorization for the interim town manager to accept a grant from Maine Historic Preservation in the amount of $25,000 for the repair and replacement of the shingle roof and wooden trim at the 1804 schoolhouse.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Free money?
Yes, I have a quick question.
What's that?
To the chair.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lee.
Lisa.
Paul, the question I had was, that $25,000, will that cover the entire cost?
No, there is a small match on that, probably about $6,000, $6,200. And we do have that money in the 1804 capital account.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have an issue. Does anybody else? Ray would like to say something.
Just for the record, anybody has the right to speak the way we've been doing it for.
Thank you.
3
That's why I
years.
opened it up before we started. Yep,
For every agenda item.
go ahead.
Is it okay? Okay. Well, I just wanted to give a few facts about the schoolhouse, just the match is from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. The total cost of the project was estimated through the grant process at about $31,000. So 75% of that will be covered by the Maine Historic Preservation Commission, and the rest of it. There might be a little bit of, play with bids that will go out in the future. The last time the roof was replaced, the shingle roof, was in 1989. So that roof has been there, if you do the calculation, 30-some-odd years. So, and it's lasted quite a long time. With the new techniques in the shingle roof, for wood, we expect this roof to last for 40, 45 plus. The cost for the town of the $6,000 is actually, we had estimates for a tin roof to say if we didn't get this grant, we were not gonna be able to afford to put the shingle roof on. So we got, and they were higher, so the asphalt and the tin was higher than the $6,000 that, we are paying for the actual roof replacement. The schoolhouse is on the National Registry of Historic Places, State of Maine Historic Places, so it is a great asset to the town of Winslow. The Friends of Fort Halifax, through Amanda and Paul, plan on opening up the school. We had the schoolhouse open last year for the same time that the blockhouse was open on the last couple weeks of the season. So there'll be a sign at the blockhouse that they could go up and take a look at the schoolhouse, which hopefully will be open through a bunch of volunteers that would open up in the morning and close it at night and monitor the things. So we do plan on using, it's an asset for the town of Winslow. I think it'll be, once we get it open and people out there, it'll become more of an asset. So, and to maintain it every 5 years, you gotta put a coat of some type of preservative on the roof to make it last the 40 to 50 years estimate that it would last. So, I thank Paul, I thank Amanda and Ella for the work that they've done to secure these grants and to work with the town. And we're there to help also. The Friends of Fort Halifax will be glad to help and look after some of the aspects with the town to help out making.
And
sure
where is
that-
the money, the rest of the money gonna come from, Ray?
Well, Paul can tell you that.
We have a capital account for the 1804 schoolhouse in the capital. I think there's
Yeah, we've been putting
14,000 and change in there right now, so.
Yeah, we've been putting money away every year, either 5,000 to, and we've done mortar work, we've done some window work, have done work on there through the last 10 years to preserve as a brick building that's that old, and the bricks are so old and the mortar gets, so we replaced it for waterproofing and different things through the course of the last 15 years, so those type of things, so.
Great.
And I think in the account right now, when I asked Tanya the other day, was $14,000 in the schoolhouse account.
That's what I said.
Okay, I think
got
it
enough,
is.
Ray.
I'm not entirely sure, but there's substantial money to pay for the thing, so thank you again. I hope you guys approve it. And-
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Roll call.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LaBranch,
Yes.
Adam Lind,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Moving on to discussion items. Establishing criteria for residents or company wanting a streetlight. That's yours, Lee. Lee, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's your discussion item? Criteria for residents or companies wanting a streetlight?
Yes, I'd actually like to take those, I think, in a different order. But the first one I'd like to do is start with reestablishing the Public Safety Committee, or whichever how it's written on there. I know Audra said that there is one person that's currently available, and we need to see about establishing some other, put it out there to, I know the police chief and fire chief are usually on that, but I think it would be wise if we could maybe get another department head, safety department head, or even maybe someone in the community as well. That would be that discussion item.
Lee, I did find out, Judy helped me, the first time that the safety committee was ever kind of talked about in the minutes was in 1970. In October, there were 5 members appointed, and the town manager explained what their duties would be, but it did not state in the minutes what those duties were. But they did follow up in 1971 to talk about traffic island and railroad crossings. But there was no specific details on what they would be kind of in charge or charged to do. We do currently have one member, Peter Netto, and he doesn't expire for a while. But
And you have interest from somebody else, you said.
I do have interest from one other person. I sent him the application today.
Right,
The
and,
Police
I mean,
chief,
as
fire chief.
far as do we go on to the next discussion item, or?
No, I think we're still discussing.
Just one thing on the safety committee, Lee.
Yeah,
It's been defunct for years. Paul can testify to that. But
Yeah.
usually it was the fire chief, the police chief.
I believe there was 3.
Paul, you might have been on it, Paul.
I don't think so. but-
Code enforcement.
Well, I think it was 3 citizens plus those 2 chiefs. I kind of think the public works director should be on there if you're discussing safety, but,
And shouldn't the code enforcement officer kind of be
well,
involved
this
with
was,
some of that?
this is more, this isn't like building safety. This is like if somebody wants a street light, or somebody wants a stop sign, or somebody has concerns with traffic, or, you know, that type of stuff, I
That's
guess.
public works, Paul, street signs.
But the request to put one up, you know, if somebody wants to put up a stop sign somewhere, you know, somebody should be evaluating it whether or not it makes sense to have it there, and not just because somebody wants it. Or a street light. I mean, you know me, I'm somewhat anti-street light, but
Then you won't be on the committee.
because of the cost and the maintenance. But you know, there should be a criteria for establishing. Do we put a street
Oh,
light
there should
somewhere?
be a criteria for anything people ask for, right?
You know,
So that
just-
everyone's
just so that
treated
it's
the
not
same.
just
So,
I would recommend we have our 2 public safety personnel, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and our public works director as part of that, as
Well,
part of that committee.
and the fire department, maybe. I would think someone from
Well,
the fire department.
fire.
You get fire
police.
chief.
Fire
Oh,
chief,
fire and
yeah,
police, yep.
chief.
So is that something we can settle tonight to get going on it?
Audra can put it on the agenda for next month for the appointments.
Yeah.
Give her a chance to.
Once I get the application back from the other person, if he chooses to want to be on the committee. But do we have any guidelines that we'll want to?
We'll have to develop something. But
well, I do know that one of my other discussion items was that we needed to establish a checklist criteria, so if, you know, a resident out in the middle of nowhere wants a street light added, that they'd have to meet the minimum requirements for safety just in order to get it to the next level.
Could I make a recommendation?
Of course.
Have your police chief, fire chief, public works, and 2 others. Just keep an odd number for any voting purposes.
Sure. Sounds
Would you be good with that, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, just to get us to, you know, it will flush out the not, and anyone that's trying to just maybe put up a light just for their convenience and not a safety issue.
Is that something
But
we
yeah,
can
I'm
look into,
good
Paul?
with that, Joe.
I have a
Yeah.
question. Through the chair, who decides what the criteria is?
You gotta come up with it first.
Yeah.
And that should be all of us.
I mean, there are other towns that do it, so we
yeah,
can
we'll
get their boilerplate and adjust it to Winslow.
You can help with that, Paul?
yeah.
It'd be pretty simple. I mean, it's a safety thing, more or
Right.
less.
I think what was confusing some people for a while, we have a safety committee for the employees, which we meet every month, but it's employee safety and not public safety. You know, we deal with employees that get hurt or
Right.
or what can we do so they don't get hurt, and the grants that are there. But
Jeff, who did you?
safety committee was confusing some people that we already had one, but it's different.
2 additional.
Hey, Lee, I got a question for you. Is that the place where there's no streetlights at all, and there was a concern about ambulance and fire?
That's already on here
That's
for
on
another
there.
discussion.
Yeah, that was my next discussion item, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, so we already figured out establishing criteria, and that'll come after we get a committee, and now you can go on to the Halifax Heights subdivision streetlights. Again, it's.
Yes, and with that one, I spoke to a resident that lives in that subdivision, and he's really concerned about it's a town-maintained road, and trash is picked up there, and my concern is, especially in the winter months, that when it gets dark early, that there is not a single light in that subdivision anywhere except for on Whipple Street. And my concern is safety first, and I don't know what kind of difficulties it would be for any first responder, firefighter to respond to a call in that neighborhood and not be able to see, not even be able to see the house numbers on any of the homes.
Well, I think through the chair, that's the perfect situation, Lee, and why we need the safety committee. And it would be the safety committee to make that judgment first and bring it to the council. Through inspections, the police will look at it for safety, fire for safety, Paul for your things. Isn't that what the safety committee would be formed for?
That should be one of the main functions.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's the function.
And then the safety committee makes their recommendation to the council to whether to approve the money for a street light. So how urgent is this, Lee? We won't have a committee for a month?
Somebody wants to.
I mean, we're getting into the warmer, lighter months as we speak. So, I mean, as long as we can try to get this, completed one way or the other, reviewed, before the winter months, then I think we'd be doing okay.
Well, there should be plenty of time for that, Lee. We'll get the committee formed
Yeah, I agree.
and give it to them.
I'm sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, I'm Paul Giro from 4 Hayden Street, and I live right there in Halifax Heights. And it is dark there, and there are a lot of people that walk through there because it's not a high-traffic area. And it's very dark down there, and I think it is a safety issue.
Isn't it a senior?
Yes, it's a senior park.
And there's not one light.
There's not one, and it is dark. So I would like to hear something, maybe something be done down there and check it out at night, take a ride through there at nighttime and see how dark it is, or just walk down there. And it's where it's a senior place, it's 55 and older. There are some older people down there, and it would be easier to trip on something if they're going up and get the mail or coming back. So if that could be reviewed, I would greatly appreciate it.
Not to mention that if an ambulance was there, it's pretty hard to see.
Well, no, that's true. You can't see the numbers on the homes and stuff.
Yep.
Safety goes all the way around. It's an easy target for people to try to break into homes as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I throw the planning board under the bus? That should have been addressed when that was approved, too. Just a thought.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll hear about it tomorrow, but it's
So we
okay.
got that one. Are you all good, Lee? Lee?
Yeah, I'm good with my 3 discussion items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
The salary scale in personnel policy is canceled. They're going to present it and speak at the next budget workshop.
You skipped D. D.
Guidelines,
Mr. Owen.
geez, that's mine. Guidelines for the Charter Review Committee. I managed to make up some guidelines, and I know it wasn't just up to me, but they weren't getting done. The Charter Committee's been waiting for quite a long time. So I made some up. Did you guys all get the email?
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I got it.
So I'm prepared. Anybody want a hard copy?
I will save my ink.
Adam, do you need one?
If you've got an extra, I'll take it, but if not, I can print it out when I get home.
Oh, you're fine.
Thank you.
So I was just looking for input of something you may want to add or you think shouldn't be in there, just so you're all aware. I did pass it before the town attorney just to make sure that everything seemed good and he was all set with it.
Could we set maybe a time limit of maybe next month, coming back together?
To approve the
With
guidelines? Is that what you said?
Add, subtract.
Oh, geez, that's a long
and then-
time. They've been waiting so long. That's why I emailed it to you guys to look at before today. But it's a vote. If you guys do whatever you want. Like I said, I knew we needed guidelines. There weren't anybody doing anything, so.
Well, we can't accept the guidelines under a discussion item.
Right,
So
I know
if you
that.
want to look at them and put it on the agenda for next month to accept the,
Accept the wording.
Yep,
accept the.
that's fine. Yep,
accept the-
that's another month, but yep. That's what you guys want to do? So we'll just put it on the agenda, Audra, for the next meeting?
And
To,
we can add or subtract right under the vote, before the vote anyway.
Then, yeah, approve as
Okay.
adopted or whatever if we need to,
Yep.
right?
They just make an amendment.
yeah, because it's not a resolution, so it's
It
fine.
would be a,
It's a
it would be a
resolution.
resolution.
It will be, but until it is, we can still make changes to it. Okay, that was mine.
Salary scale.
The other, no, I already said that. Nominations for Spirit of America. Paul?
I was asked to put that on there. I really don't know
That's
too
more-
much.
That's more of a me thing, but I know I can really add something. So the Spirit of America, I did send you a link and some information. Is basically a local person, a group, an organization that has outstanding community service in our town. We like to try to honor that person. Mickey Pouliot was last year, I believe. So normally what has happened in the past is every counselor puts in their kind of nomination, and then they'll go through and vote on someone. We'll honor them at the next council meeting with a proclamation.
Through the chair, also, I think I mentioned it to you, Audra, that the Spirit of America nomination was also acknowledged by the state representative, Paul Flynn, which from Mickey Pouliot will actually get another plaque from the state. So that'll probably happen next month or so. So I'll talk to Paul Flynn.
Yeah, so if I could get everybody's nomination before the next council meeting. It's all kind of,
And this is for this year,
this is
right?
for this year, yeah.
Okay.
We kind of try to keep it secret until,
I have a question. Do they have to be alive?
no, they can have passed. But if you could all give us your recommendation, and then I'll give you a list, and you can kind of vote for who you'd like to have.
Thank you.
It'll make it kind of a
But in
surprise
the
for the
past,
person.
there's been times when we've nominated and approved more than one. Like one year we had 5.
Yeah, or like a group, right? When you
No,
had
no, 5
the
separate.
separate people. I think that was before me, so. But
Okay. Now it's time for public comment. Do we have anybody that would like to speak? Go ahead.
My name's Kyle Price. I live at 147 Clinton Avenue, and I would just like to acknowledge and commend our Public Works Department for all that they do. This time of year, you see what's going on to keep the roads clear and sidewalks clear. Where I live on Clinton Avenue, I get to know when they're out and about. There's 4 or 5 trucks that go down through there in the payloader at whatever times of day or night that they go. As a school bus driver, I see about 11 miles of town road, and it's out on North Pond, Shorey, Knoll, and the parts in between that the town doesn't maintain. And so there is, I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, there's definitely a comparison between what's going on the China Road and what our town is doing for us. And this time of year, it's particularly tricky, I think. I slipped and fell on my own driveway this morning, but they were out making sure that we could do what we need to do for transportation purposes. And when they're not, when they got done doing that this morning, they were out patching roads, filling the potholes that we've got this time of year. And mentioning the Knoll, Shorey, and North Pond Road, I've gotten to see what they have been doing in the work in the last couple of years, prepping those roads for the resurfacing and that sort of thing, the replacement of the culverts and trimming back of the trees and that sort of thing. So from my perspective, I don't see any daylight underneath their feet and underneath their trucks. Along those same lines, in the school department, it was always a frustration for me to try to make sure our people were keeping up with the prepping of the sidewalks and that sort of thing. And I just want to also point out to you that in the last few years, the school department has purchased some additional equipment that allow them to do a better job as well. So through your support of the school budget, there is a truck and a plow that the school owns and a sander on the back that supplements what our contractor does and can get into the nooks and crannies that our contractor doesn't get into. And more recently, a small lawn tractor that has a snowblower on it that can get onto the sidewalks. And our guy, Charles McCann, does a great job there making sure that that's safe around the public school building. So all of those folks, I just thought, deserve some acknowledgement for the work that they do. And especially this time of year, it is slippery out there. We get the thaw, then we get the freeze, then we get a little snow covering that ice patch that I slipped on. About 30 years ago, I slipped and dislocated my shoulder in a school parking lot, so on my birthday, which is coming up in about 7 days. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one email that I need to read. You want me to read that now?
Sure.
Okay. Original email sent on February 10th to my counselor Doris LaBranche. Today is February 19th. I have yet to get a response or acknowledgement from Counselor LaBranche, who is my representative. I'm sorry, this is from Kim Clifton. I live on Chickadee Trail. I am very concerned about the late tax interest reduction to 3%. I just renewed some CDs today at the rate of 4.3%. I would be much better off leaving my money in the bank until I have to pay my taxes. The town council reduced the interest rate last year per Fran's request from 8% to 6%. This was fair. Does this town not need the revenue of people paying early or on time? I think the town's operating revenue would suffer with a 3% rate. Is this your end goal? I would also question why residents do not get rewarded for paying taxes on time. I pay early. I live on a fixed income, as many people do. I set funds aside every month for taxes. My taxes are high. They have more than doubled in just 6 years. There is no discount for people that pay on time or early because that would reduce revenue. It's that what is you're doing when reducing the interest rate to 3%. The revenue might be small, but it's a revenue. I think there are far more people in town that are paying taxes on time than late. That would change. The focus and priority of the town council should be reducing spending, not interest rates or tweaking websites. Google speaks great volumes when searching for a business in town. I don't think that anyone at the town office has quote unquote spare time, as you stated, to focus on the website. If you think the town office staff has spare time, perhaps you should spend a morning or afternoon with them. They don't have a moment to spare. Kim Clifton.
Through the chair, can I respond?
Yes, you can.
With regards to the 3% interest rate, I originally had that on the agenda, and I took it off the agenda because I was informed that Ella had already included that 3% in her budget, so there was no need for me to have it on the agenda. It was already included, and I did mention it at the last meeting, why I had taken it off. I'm sorry you disagree with the 3%. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. I can't take credit for it. The credit goes to Ella Bauman. So I definitely want to give credit to Ella for bringing that down to 3%. With regards to the website, I have gotten some positive feedback from local businesses, and they're all excited about that. I'm sorry you disagree with the website, but I've gotten more positive feedback on that. With regards to responding to emails individually, I may or may not respond individually. It depends on the issue at hand, but I will bring all these items up for discussion at the town council meetings, so everyone is all on the same page, everyone all hears the same message. Thank you.
Any more public comments? Seeing no more? Motion to enter into, I'm sorry.
You gotta close public comment.
Yep. Public comment is closed. Do I say it louder? Public comment is now closed. Can we have a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA subsection 4056D, labor negotiations?
So moved.
Second.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Corinne Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LeBranch,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
and Mike Joseph.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Do I read
So
the
Lee,
next
just
one
hold
too?
on a second. We're gonna have to switch
Do I have
you
to
around a
read
Is Lee still with us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I'm still here.
He's still here.
Okay, are we all, thank you.
Can't
This,
see anything.
He sees the table.
Oh, so he goes off your thing.
I thought you were doing it off the cameras.
Okay.
There he is.
Hey, there you are.
okay, now that everybody's happy campers, let's proceed.
I did, now I just turned it back on for the.
Okay.
Are we all set? Order number 082025, authorization for the town manager to sign the 3-year contract with the Fraternal Order of Police representing the Winslow Police Department personnel.
I'd like to make a motion, we table this.
Second.
Any discussion? Could we have a roll call?
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Doris LeBranch,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
and Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Motion to table it for the next meeting, 7-0.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Ayes.
Show of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect.